Hey, friends! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. Come join me, your host, Nicole, for some hope-filled conversations about heartfelt entertainment that makes your heart swing. Hey, Hallmarkies! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. I'm your host, Nicole, and today I am once again joined by my good friend Alex to chat about Curious Caterer, Foiled Plans. It was written by Julie Kim and Corinne Marwood, based on the books written by Diane Mott Davidson. It was directed by Paul Zeller. Goldie Berry's A Medieval Feast at Hyde Castle gets interrupted by a murder. She teams up with Detective Schultz to solve the mystery before the murderer strikes again. Along with our wonderful main and recurring cast, we have Brock Morgan as Detective Dave Track, Eric Brecker as Gerard, Britt Good as Emma Kensington. I apologize if I mispronounce his name, but Graham McComb as Charlie, Vincent Gale as Klaus, Tanis Dolman as Agatha Winford, Ted Cole as Ivan, Greg Rogers as Edmund, Philip Praju as Coach Pierre, Charles Jarman as Baron Sweetwater, and Andrew Cavadas as Sir Alistair. Welcome back to the podcast, Alex. I'm excited to chat about this movie with you.
Yes, thank you for having me back on, Nicole. I really enjoyed this Curious Caterer. It was definitely one of my favorites out of the 5.
Yeah.
I feel like everything came together really well for this one, like storyline, suspect-wise, and just like the whole setting of the movie was very picturesque to like the storyline. It went together really well. But yeah, I really all around I love this one. It was a great one.
Yeah, me too. I was going to ask what your first impressions were. I think mine is it was a darker, more complex storyline with lots of weaving with all the suspects.
Yes, I agree. I feel like this one for me too, it was very difficult for me to figure out who did it in this one because I feel like there were so many suspects in this movie. It could have been anybody. It could have
Yeah.
honestly been anybody, and the person that was who did the murder, I did not think it was that person at all. No, completely thrown off by
No.
that one. But yeah, but I agree with everything what you just said. Like it was definitely more darker, more of a bit like moodier, a little bit like on like the I guess scary side a bit. Like it was definitely more like you said, moodier, darker. Like
Yeah.
I said, a lot of weaving with the suspects.
I had no clue. I was totally off about who the murderer was.
Same.
But yeah, Liz has a good point. After going back or thinking back to my review of Tipline with her, she mentioned a lot of the times the character that comes on as the murderer, they're on camera a lot, like they're in a lot
Right.
of scenes. And it makes sense because this person
She's
is in a
right.
lot of scenes.
Right. But that's the thing too. I feel like when they make it the least obvious person that's always around all the time, I feel like it's not going to be that person. And like that's always there and like trying to help out or like
Yeah.
step in. I'm like, okay, they're out. It's not them. But this time I was completely wrong because the opposite happened.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but even everybody else that they tried to make it out to be, I thought it wasn't them either because they were like they were helping out. I feel like everyone was helping out too much in this one too. I'm like, it can't be that
Yeah.
person. It can't be this person.
Yeah.
It can't be that person. I'm
Yes.
like sitting there at the end. I'm like, okay, who is it? Just tell me who it is already.
Yes. It was a well-written script and wonderfully acted and directed by all involved. So
Yes.
cast, crew, amazing.
Mhm.
And I think my one other first impression would be I wonder how they went from the title of this being, I believe, Sticks and Scones
So,
to Foiled
yes,
Plans.
yes, that was it. I'm glad they picked spoiled plans because sticks and stones doesn't really mesh well
No,
mesh as well
I,
as foiled plans.
yeah,
I think foiled plans is a lot better. But I
yes,
don't know.
I
I
think
feel
so
like
too.
they feel like they changed the title for all these movies on like a whim. Do you ever feel like that? Like I feel like it's a title of a movie is one thing, and then like last minute they sometimes change it to something else to make it sound better. Like
Yeah, and
I feel like I see that a lot.
it's not just mystery movies.
No, it's the other movies too. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So why
Mhm.
don't we get into our suspects?
Yes. There was a long list.
Yes. So first, before we get into our suspects, we hear in the beginning of the movie that
Mhm.
Alistair was supposed to make a big announcement. And then
Mhm.
as he's going into the room to make his big announcement,
Yes.
you can tell that he is getting weaker and weaker
Yeah, he was getting
because
really mhm. He was getting
he
very
was
winded.
stabbed right
Mhm.
before in the
Yes.
liver, with the
Mhm.
cause of death being internal bleeding,
Yes.
question mark. And that
Mhm.
is what
Yes, that's
Richard
yeah.
said.
Yes, that's what Richard thought, like, when he
Hmm.
examined him, what the initial cause was.
So our first suspect, Klaus. He was acting very suspicious in the beginning.
Yeah, he was definitely odd to me, like, he just happened to be there, and then, like,
Hmm.
he was gone for 10 minutes, then he would come back. I feel like he was, like, in and out the entire movie,
Yeah.
and, like, I'm like, "'Cause that doesn't raise a red flag." Like,
Red
but then
flag.
right, but then I feel like he was trying to, like, befriend Alistair too much, where it was,
Hmm.
like, suspicious, like, where you can be
Hmm.
like, "Oh, it can be him." He's being way too friendly, like, to Alistair, you know what I'm saying? That's what I got,
Hmm.
like, my first impression was.
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
Yeah, he was acting really suspicious. And then when they were asking him about his boots and why they were wet
Right,
and
right.
why he was absent when he was supposed to announce Alistair, he
Mhm.
claims he was watering the plants in the conservatory.
Who waters the plants at, like, 10 o'clock at night?
And he had a
Very
beef with
right.
Alistair, which
Mhm.
I don't think we really heard what kind of beef he had with him. Did I
No,
miss
I don't
that?
think we did either. No, I don't think we got, like, the full, like, conversation of, like, what
Mm-mm.
they spoke about or anything.
No, and
No,
he didn't have an alibi,
no.
but he was ruled out pretty quickly. So,
But didn't somebody ask him that and, like, he didn't have, like, a direct reason, like, what they were, like, speaking about, or no, am I wrong?
he
I
could
feel like
have.
somebody asked him.
I would
I feel
have to
like
go back
may
and watch. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah. He was ruled out pretty quickly. And then we
right.
have Charlie.
Mm,
A red sequin from his jester costume was found
mhm.
on Alistair. I think his head or around his head.
Like, yeah, I think it was, like yeah, it came off the top of his, like, hat or
Yeah.
wherever he
Mhm.
was wearing.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's also Emma's brother. Okay, who saw
Mhm.
that coming? Not me.
No, I didn't think I thought honestly they were dating at first, but then when I
I
found
did.
that they were I honestly thought they were boyfriend and girlfriend, but then when that plan was squashed, when Mason asked and he told Mason that, "No, that's not my girlfriend, that's my sister." I'm like, "That's out."
Oh my gosh.
But no, he was definitely a strange one too. I
Mhm.
feel like especially that whole scene, like, not to skip ahead, with when he had that
Yeah.
conversation with Tom and he called Tom his, like,
Tomster.
a certain yeah, nickname, like Tomster, I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "How would this guy know
That's
this?" Like, very, very strange. Like, I when
yeah.
he called him that and then Tom directly knew what he was like, that name in particular, I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, something's up with him too."
Yeah, and I don't think we had gotten to the scene yet in the movie when we find out who else called him Tomster.
Right. No, he didn't.
Yeah, but we hear in his conversation with Mason that
Mhm.
he and Emma used to
Yeah.
work in the traveling carny together, but he didn't want people to know they were related. He asked Emma to work for Alistair, meaning he already knew Alistair
Right.
because Alistair hired him.
Mhm.
Fishy!
Yeah, very fishy.
And he also served 3 years in Millhaven prison for larceny. And
Mhm.
then later on in the movie, I think towards the end, when they're
Right.
asking, his connection to Edmund, he mentions that he was there to give Edmund a ride from the prison to Hyde
Right.
Castle.
Mhm. Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we have Emma, who was ruled out pretty quickly, along with her
Yes.
brother.
Mhm.
Is she lying about Baron or is Baron lying about her?
Her
She
right.
wasn't really high on my list.
Mine either. I feel like when side note, 'cause this is like a side note part, but I love that Mason and her kinda had like a little like thing going on throughout like a little fling going on throughout the
Yeah.
episode. But that's why I didn't think it was her too, because she was trying to help Mason out essentially
Yeah.
with you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't think it's her because her helping out Mason wouldn't make her a
Mm-mm.
suspect.
No.
I don't even think she had even had the willpower to kill anybody. Like she was too nice, you know what I
No.
mean?
Yeah, I mean, I could see where they would think that because of Alistair taking his anger out on her when
Right, right. There.
she
Mhm.
answered the call from Dr. Tag Archer.
Mhm. Yeah. Right.
But yeah, she wasn't
Yeah.
really high
No,
on my
I
list.
agree. Yeah. Mine either.
And then we have Ivan, who was also ruled out pretty quickly.
Right.
He claims he and his wife Agatha were together the whole time and their alibi is solid. He mentions his relationship with Alistair is solid, but can't answer when asked if Agatha can vouch for it.
Mhm.
Snooping
That
and jealous, I think is what
yeah,
Tom said.
exactly. Like I said, I feel like he was more in the background more, like, as a
Yeah.
character. I
Hmm.
feel like yes, he was Agatha's husband, but I feel like he was just, like, on the outs,
With
you know what I'm
her.
trying to say? Like,
Yeah.
with her yeah, like, he really didn't have that much to do with it, but he was a
No.
suspect, like, briefly, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
like
he
they ruled
was
him out quickly.
briefly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think his motive was strong enough
No,
to.
I don't think so either.
Mm-mm.
No. No way.
Baron Sweetwater, he was up there for a few minutes.
Right.
According to Emma, he was getting restless and couldn't sit still. He
Mhm.
kept checking his watch. He was in a
Yeah.
hurry and he doesn't like dead bodies.
Yeah. Mhm.
Which, okay, I get that. That wouldn't make him a suspect. But what would make him a suspect is how there was apparently no love lost between him and Alistair,
Yeah.
who Alistair fired employees, rebranded Sweetwater Confections under the Harrow name, which of course
Right.
that's Baron Sweetwater's last name.
Mhm.
And that added insult to injury. So
Mhm.
basically, hostile takeover, lying, and bitter over his legacy.
Right. That's one thing I have to point out too. He had a lot of enemies, Alistair. He pretty much did a lot of people wrong, so that's why I feel like a
Hmm.
lot of people had it out for him in that
Yeah.
sense. So
Is it just me, or does the guy that played Alistair play a lot of bad guys on these mystery
he
movies?
does. I said the same thing. I'm like, why is he always the bad one? I can't think of what other mysteries he was in, like right now, right off the bat. But I remember him playing bad parts.
I know for a fact he was in the last garage sale mystery.
Yes, yes, you just mentioned that to me.
Yes,
But
when we
it's so
were
fun. Yes,
off
it was.
recording. Yeah.
Yes, it's so fun playing the bad part, though. I feel like in these
Yeah.
films, it's always funny. I feel like you get to play around a lot more when you're like
Hmm.
the enemy. And
Mhm.
it's fun to play with. It's fun to play with.
Yeah. And Alistair's only love language was money.
Yes.
Um, I know we don't like this character in this other series because he was the one that had an affair with Oliver's mother, or basically the other way around. Oliver's mother
Yes.
had an affair with him,
Yeah.
but I think Alistair needs to take a page out of Harvey Schmitz's book. You never have
Yes.
enough money if all you have is
If
money.
I was money. Good point. Good point. Yeah, that was another red flag with
Yeah.
Alistair too. Like all he cared about was
Yeah.
money. Like it
Yes.
felt that's what I got from him too. I feel like he cared way more about like the
Mhm.
finance, like money part of things
Mhm.
going on than
Yeah.
the actual people he was associated with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that will leave
Yeah.
me if that will leave a bad taste in my mouth if I was working with somebody like that and all they cared
Mhm.
about was that and not me, like as a
Yeah.
worker or like somebody that's like associated with him.
Mhm. So Baron Sweetwater was ruled out. Now we
Mhm.
have Coach Pierre. He is an expert swordsman. And from Richard's best guess, the murder weapon was a long, thin blade, like a fencing sword.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he is a fencing coach for
Right.
Olive's school, or
Yes.
at Olive's school.
Mhm.
And he was supposedly fired, according to the
Mhm.
termination letter that he's seen burning in the fireplace by Goldie and Olive.
Right.
Suspicious!
Mm.
Red
V
flag!
very, very suspicious. I remember
Yeah.
when that scene first happened and I first found out that he was the fencing coach, I was like, "You gotta be kidding me. Really?"
I
I'm
thought for
like,
sure it was
I
him. Like,
me too. That's right. I'm like, "Okay, they just gave it away, it's him." Like,
yeah,
plus when they said that he got fired, I was like, "Oh, another red flag. Another
that's
red flag."
motive.
Yep, that's a motive. Yep, exactly, that's a motive. Yep.
And it also made him even more of a suspect when his custom made gold gilded epee from Paris was found by Jake and Olive
Mhm.
hanging up crooked where it originally was
Right. Mhm.
on the crest,
Yeah. Mhm.
in the hallway by the
Yes.
stairs. He loaned it to Alistair to display on his shield or on the
Mhm.
crest for the
Yes.
exhibition. And Alistair didn't want to keep a protective tip on the sword.
No. Mhm.
And also
But
the
she
bruise
oh, the
that Coach
bruising.
Pierre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really but then, that could've honestly
That could
coulda
have happened. Yeah.
happened from something else or, like, maybe, like,
Mhm.
a fencing incident that he was, like,
Yeah.
in.
Mhm.
So
But then Coach Pierre is a no-go.
mhm. He's ruled out too.
Yep. Now we have Agatha, who was emotional with Alistair, possibly an
Yes.
affair,
Mhm.
but she claims they were nothing but friends.
Right.
In her earlier conversation with him, which I believe that is the one that Goldie saw,
Yes.
he was telling her that he was going to take up the sword of justice.
Right.
Then he confessed to her, Agatha, that he only had weeks to live because of
Yes.
cancer.
Right. I remember that scene.
Yeah. So I think, if I remember correctly, as the movie went on, they were trying to figure out if he was basically trying to make things right. So,
Right. Mhm.
yeah,
That's what, like, everyone was trying to figure out. Tom and Goldie and the rest of them who were trying to help out
yeah,
solve the murder.
do the right
What
thing,
was right, was he doing it to, like, make amends with people, or
make
was he
amends.
doing it
Yeah.
what was he doing it to make amends, or was he out for somebody that
Mhm.
he worked with,
Yes.
you know?
Mhm.
Mhm.
She was on Alistair's payroll, but she says they were just campaign donations and she
Mhm.
has many donors. She claims she's never heard the name Dr. Tag Archer.
Mhm.
And she was also
Mhm.
the judge that put Tom's dad, Edmund, away. So this is when it starts getting
Yep.
complicated and complex and
Yes.
connected.
Yes.
All of
Yep. That's when it started getting really good too in that
yeah.
part of the movie.
Yes. And then she was pushed out the window and
Mm.
found lying face down in the snow with multiple fractures consistent with the fall, scrapes on her arms,
Mm.
and petechia. I think that's how you pronounce
Yeah,
it,
I think that's yep.
which means her eye blood vessels had burst, caused
Ugh.
by either lack of oxygen or strangulation. And we find out later that it's strangulation.
Yes. So to push a woman like out a window like that is horrific. Like you
I
really got to
know.
be some mean
Yeah.
person to do that. I know it's just a
Hmm.
show, but like just in general,
Yes, agreed.
it's a terrible way to die.
I
Like
know.
horrible.
So that definitely rules her out. She had
Yeah.
nothing to do with it.
No. Yeah. I never got that
Um,
instinct it was her either. I feel like her
no,
and
I didn't
Alice were
either.
too
Mm-mm.
I feel like they like you said, they were trying to plant like she was having an affair with him. I feel like I wasn't picking
No.
up that vibe from her. I feel like she was just very
Hmm.
good friends with the guy and just wanted to
Hmm.
look out for him, so I knew it wasn't her.
Yeah, same.
Mhm.
So now we have Orson Riggs and Edmund Schultz.
Mm.
Orson was one of Alistair's accountants.
Yes.
He was going to blow the whistle for his money laundering scheme.
Mm.
Alistair wanted the problem gone, so he hired Edmund to kill him.
Mhm. No, no.
Edmund was caught on camera in Olive's selfie with her friend Jake
Yes.
holding the bloody epee.
Mhm.
So, of course, that would be reason to believe he's a
That
suspect because he's
suspect, yes.
caught with the sword.
The murder weapon, yep.
Yeah. But he was Alistair's guest of honor and put up in the castle,
Mhm.
as we saw in that scene where Goldie goes after him.
Right, when I love that scene.
Yeah, that
That
was
was
a
a
good
good
scene.
one.
And Alistair needed someone to take the fall. Edmund was poker buddies with Orson and owed him money, making him a scapegoat. So I believe it was Alistair that
Yes.
Edmund owed money, if I'm correct.
I'm pretty sure you're correct. I'm pretty sure you
Yeah,
are. And
because that would
yeah,
make sense
right, right.
if he was made
Yeah,
the scapegoat. So yeah.
right. Mhm.
And then we get to the person least expected to be the killer,
Right?
who is the killer, Dr. Tag Archer.
Like I say, but the way they did that and they made when that scene at the end on, like, when they would do when Goldie figures it out with the Scrabble pieces, I love that so much. That was so cool how they
That
did
was
that,
brilliant.
right? I love that they did that. But yeah, I did not think it first of all, I didn't think it was him either. I didn't think it was Gerard either because I'm like, why would Detective Track's father have something to do with this?
That's what
Like he's with
I thought.
right? I'm like he's with his son. Why would he be involved in a murder? That's why I didn't think it was
Mhm.
him.
Yeah.
So, but we were wrong.
Yep. So Alistair's last journal entry was to him. He was dying, so he could have put
Yeah.
him in a clinical trial for a new treatment. And this is, towards the beginning of the movie when they're still trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
And I don't have who said it written down, but
Mhm.
it was off the record in exchange for cash. But that's not possible because he was in the books long before
Right.
Alistair got sick.
Mhm.
So basically, Dr. Tag Archer is an anagram
Mhm.
for
Yes.
Gerard Track.
Mhm.
His gun was found hidden in the grandfather clock.
That was my second favorite scene.
Now, when Gerard gets shot in the arm, that's when I was starting to wonder, this is
Not
not
adding up.
not
Adding
what
up.
it seems, as Goldie says.
Right, right. Because yeah, I was thrown off at that scene too when he shot himself in the arm because I'm like, it can't it could I didn't think it was him because the guy just got shot. It couldn't be him. But then when Tom and Goldie were starting to like piece everything together, the two of them, and I'm like, oh, this makes sense. It's him now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it always takes me a minute to like pay attention to what's going on and like connect all
Yeah.
the dots. But yeah, but when he shot himself, I'm like, when I found that he was the one that who actually shot himself and like
Yeah.
nobody shot him, I'm like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I could see why they would think possibly Edmund, but then I was like, yeah, no, why would Edmund shoot Gerard?
Right, I know. Why would Tom's dad shoot him? Right. It like it doesn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense to me.
Yes. But then when they found the grandfather clock, well, I think it was Tom who found it first.
Right. I remember like wasn't this the scene where he was sitting down by himself? Like it was like towards like more the end of the movie after like they found out his dad was in the castle and
I
he was
believe
sitting
so.
yeah, and
I
he was
believe
sitting
so.
yeah, he was sitting there and he kept
Hearing.
listening to the clock. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I didn't think of it at first, but then I'm like, when I was sitting there watching it for the first time, I'm like, something doesn't sound right. I'm like, that doesn't sound
That's
like
not.
a grandfather clock wouldn't tick like that.
Nope.
And then I'm like, wait a minute,
Uh-uh.
and I was trying to like piece everything together at that point.
Yes.
I knew something had to be in the clock for it to make that sound. I didn't really honestly think of what it could have been in there. But then when
Yeah.
him and Goldie went together to open the clock and the gun was in there, I was like, yep,
When Goldie started putting the Scrabble pieces together, in that room,
yes. And like that,
I think, yeah, I
and
think I
that
knew
little,
right away. It
right,
was
you
Gerard.
knew when she was doing yeah, that gave it away. That gave me like a clue too. I'm like, she's gonna spell something out here that we're not, we weren't supposed to know at the beginning of the movie, but now we're gonna find out at the end.
And I
But
think on the board it said, like, it spelled out Dr. Tag
Tag
Archer.
Archer, right. But then she like
She
took
was,
she right, she put Dr. Tag Archer, but then she redid the spelling and it spelled Gerard
yeah,
track.
track. Yeah.
Right.
But the first scene when she does it, it cuts off before we see
It
who it
cuts off.
is.
Yes, they cut it off. I was like, they're not gonna show us now, are they?
But I knew it was him, even though they cut the
Right.
scene. I was
Right.
like,
Because even when Tom and Goldie, right after they found that the gun was in the clock, I was like, this is what he did. I'm like, he shot himself and then he made like he put the gun in the clock so
yeah.
nobody can throw suspicious onto him and he can
Mm-hmm.
put it on Edmund to make Edmund take the fall. Meanwhile, it was him that did it.
Yep. So he planted evidence and pinned it all on Edmund.
Yes.
He profited well for over 2 decades to keep silent. He was a
Mhm.
dirty cop, according to Alistair. And then, of course, he shoots himself in the arm.
Mm.
And
Throw suspicion off himself to make
mhm.
like he's not involved.
So they were right that Alistair wanted to right wrongs because he knew he was dying and he
Mhm.
wanted to free an innocent man,
Right.
Edmund.
Yes.
So that
Tom's
would
dad.
mean that Dr. Tag Archer or Gerard was going down. And
Right.
he didn't want that to happen.
No,
So,
no. Yep. He had his hand
as
in way too many things, Gerard. That was the
yep,
problem. And he tried to, yep, that was the issue. He had his hands in way too many dealings and he tried to make like it wasn't
mhm,
him the entire time and point the finger at everybody else. And in the end, we found out it was him that did it.
yep. So as he was putting the sword back, Alistair stumbled into the dining room and Edmund saw Alistair
Mm-hmm.
Edmund grabbed the sword to hide the evidence
Right.
so he couldn't wipe his prints before the cops arrived, but then saw Olive taking the photo and panicked and fled the
Yes.
scene.
And fled.
He
Yes.
he went to get the sword because he knew that Gerard was going to try to pin it on him.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Yep.
So we have found the killer. Way to go, team! And I love that scene when they take him down and
Oh, right. They're all like in like their little
the
like
room,
kitchen
the kitchen,
area room, and they're all like just standing there looking at him. He's like,
like,
"Guys, it's it's not like he was just trying to stand there. I mean, like it wasn't him, and like they were all crazy." But I know
yeah,
that was a great scene. That was a great
yeah.
scene.
He was like, you don't need to make up conspiracy theories, blah, blah, blah,
Theory,
blah, blah. I'm like, dude,
dude. Like
just
it's.
hush already.
I know.
You have
I'm like
more
we all right. We all
evidence.
know it's you. Like we all know it's you. We have plenty of evidence that points that it's you. So stop trying to get out of this because it's not working.
I think Tom even said that, like, you have more evidence than you can even
Right, he
imagine.
did. He did say that. He did something. He did say something along those lines. I remember him saying
Yeah.
that.
But I love when the FBI gets there and, they're like, Gerard Track. And then he walks up to him and, he's talking
He's
about the
like
case.
casual,
Like, we have the suspect, Edmund, in custody, and then
right?
2 victims. And then they're
Hmm.
like, you're under the arrest. And he's like, no, I'm the
No,
U.S. Marshal.
so you can't
I
arrest
didn't
me.
do this.
Right, right, right. And I love that scene too because they found out then that Alistair actually contacted the FBI, writing a letter before
Before
he got
he was killed.
murdered to let them
Mm-hmm.
know what was going on. And I did
Mm-hmm.
not see that coming either. I'm like, wow,
That was
really
smart.
clever. That was very smart to do that
Yes.
because he probably felt like something bad might happen to me. Let
Mm-hmm.
me write this letter to inform them that it could be this person because they're suspicious. It was very very clever to do that.
Yeah.
I was shocked when that happened. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this guy wrote a letter to the FBI.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a great scene when they take him
Yeah.
down. I'm like, don't mess with the team. I'm glad that they caught the killer
Yes.
and found justice for
Mm-hmm.
Alistair
Yes. Me
and
too. Yep.
Agatha too. Going into our highlights. So this is anything you liked about the movie, any standout moments. Would you like to share any of yours?
Yeah. There, like I said, there were like a couple of scenes. Like I said, just throughout the movie, them like just everyone just moving throughout the castle. I thought how they did that was like very,
Mm-hmm.
very
Yeah.
good. Like in each of like the different rooms and how like everyone. I love, like I said, we brought this up like a little bit ago. The scene where Goldie found like the hidden passageway in the kitchen, and she
Oh
walks up
yeah.
the
That
stairs,
was a
and
good scene.
Edmund's there, and like in the hallway, she finds him like that he's sleeping, actually
Mm-hmm.
sleeping there. I thought he was
Yeah.
gonna actually go after her. Then Tom came just in time to
Yes.
save her.
Yeah.
But I also like the other scene where it was like towards the middle of the movie where her and Tom were like looking at the board and they were eating the scones. I thought
Yep.
that
And
was a cute scene.
he's teasing her
He's
about the
teasing
drawing
her,
of Emma. And
right?
he's like, lucky you can cook. And she swats his arm.
But yeah, I like that scene a lot. Like you said, the scene, even actually the scene in the towards like the beginning of the movie where when Tom first finds out that his dad like escaped prison and he has that
Mhm.
conversation with Goldie and
That was a good scene.
he shows her the picture of
Yeah.
him and his dad when they were younger
Mm-hmm.
and they had like that
Yeah.
brief conversation.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really sweet scene. We gotta talk about those costumes because they were
The
spot
costumes were
on
on
to
point.
the time period. That's exactly the costumes you have to have for this
Yes.
medieval esque time period, and they
Yeah.
did them very well.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very well.
Yes, they did. And I also love how it was just in one place this entire movie.
Right. There weren't like we weren't jumping back and forth between different settings and yes,
Yeah.
and
It was
buildings or
just
stuff like
in the
that
castle.
in the castle, right. Yep.
Yep. And I believe, if I remember correctly, when I interviewed or when I had Andrew on the podcast
Mhm.
before World Plans premiered,
Right.
he compared this movie, I think, a little bit to, I think, a thriller slash mystery movie, Knives Out.
Oh, I've heard of that. I've never seen it because
I haven't
I'm
either.
not a
No,
I'm not a fan of scary movies. I
no.
just completely pass on those because they're just not for
Hmm.
me. But yeah,
Hmm.
like I said in the beginning, this movie it had a scary element to it. It was like
Yeah.
very dark. Like there were a couple scenes I thought something was gonna jump out at me. I'm not gonna lie.
Hmm.
But like, first of all, I don't like
Yeah.
being in the dark period. I'm like, no, not for me, not for me.
Yeah.
But I like that about this one. I thought it gave it like a more like
Hmm.
exciting kind of like, ooh, something's gonna happen soon. Like it's a little bit
Yeah.
scarier. I like that.
Yeah. Another thing I loved, the medieval feast. That was
Ooh,
fun,
yeah.
even though we really didn't get a whole lot of it, which is
One thing I
understandable.
Right, one thing I have to bring up with one scene that made me laugh, the scene right before Alistair walks into the room and Goldie and Marla were standing there announcing him to come in.
Oh,
I was cracking up when Goldie was like, "Where, where is he?" And then he finally walked in. She's like, "Thank God."
yeah. She's like, oh, thank gosh.
Oh, thank God. Because Marla wanted her to make the announcement, and she goes, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You better walk into this room right now." I just thought that was such a funny scene.
No.
I was cracking up, and just the way Goldie says that in that scene, she's like, "Oh, thank God."
Hmm. And while we're talking about Goldie and Marla, I have to say I loved the opening dialogue with them. When Goldie walks up to the door, she knocks on it, and they're doing that
Right?
little skit.
Yeah, that was good. That was funny.
I don't have it
I feel
written
like
down, but that
right.
was
I
fun.
feel like they're so great together as like best friends on this show.
Yes.
I love their relationship
Yes.
that they have.
Me too. Yeah. I thought seeing the fencing was fun, even though I would
Yeah,
never do that myself.
it
It is
reminded me of
fun.
definitely fencing is fun. And no, it reminded me of the Parent Trap.
You read my mind because that's exactly what I think of too. I'm sure we'll talk about it when we get to Forbidden Fruit,
Hmm.
which we are also reviewing tonight. But we literally read each other's minds.
We do, Nicole. It's
Like,
actually really scary.
we think the same thing.
We think, and we practically, I think we agree on mostly everything. I think there's like a very rare chance we disagree on something.
I feel like you are the Goldie to my Marla.
No, pretty much, pretty
Like,
much.
accurate. The
Right,
accuracy.
100% accurate. Exactly.
But anyway, back to the movie.
Mhm.
We didn't get a lot of scenes with them, but I think we really only got maybe a handful. Goldie and Olive. I loved that first scene
Yeah.
after fencing when
Hmm.
Goldie's like, go take your selfies and post away. What self-service? It's like living in the dark ages here. I know, isn't it wonderful?
You know what? Me not having a cell phone during that, if I was in that castle, I would probably be really happy about it. I know that sounds surprising, but just being without a phone for a
No,
couple of hours, no, it would be hard for
no.
you. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it would be like I mean, yes, it would be hard to be away from my phone, but I feel like when I'm like away from my phone for like a few hours, it's good for my brain.
Yeah. No, it's not surprising. I mean, I probably would feel the same way like when I
Right.
go on my mission trip every summer. Now, granted, I haven't been in a couple years,
Hmm.
mostly due to COVID, but I
Right.
wasn't able to go this year either.
Hmm.
When we have our free time after worship service
Right.
every night, usually my phone needs to be charged because
Right.
I've run it down, you know,
Yeah.
going to and from our work site to the church for
Hmm.
breakfast, lunch, dinner, all
Right.
that. And I'll normally just leave my phone plugged into the outlet or one of the outlets in
Right.
the girls' room. where
Mm-hmm.
all the girls sleep. And I'll
Right.
go in the gym and just hang out with my friends, not even thinking about my phone.
Don't, right? I feel like that's the thing too. I feel like when you hang out with people too today, it's like
Hmm.
when like you're away from your phone, I feel like you have like better conversations with people, like you communicate better. I feel like when you're on your
Yeah.
phone, you're distracted. You know what I'm saying? That's
Hmm.
why I try to like step
Yes.
away from my phone when I'm out with like people in
Yeah.
general. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I totally get that.
Yeah.
It's
And
nice to be
no,
away from it.
yeah, I am not on my phone when I'm actually working on the site. No, unless we are on a water break.
Yeah.
That's the only time I'm on my phone. Sometimes,
Right.
and not even then, all the time. But yeah.
Hmm.
Also, I love the scene when Goldie and Olive have found Coach Pierre, burning the termination letter. And
Yeah. They're
only
like walking in the
because
hallway.
only because of the dialogue with the two of them, when Olive says, I see why you do this. This is exciting. Don't get used to it.
Don't get I thought I was gonna say doesn't go and say don't get any ideas.
Yep. Also, Mason, the king of one-liners, along with Tom, of course. But
All the time. Like he said, I feel like he's so great for this show because he brings just the right amount of comedy where it doesn't overpower the mystery. Like just
mhm,
like the quick one lines that he says, I crack up every time he says them.
yes,
It's hilarious.
like some of their one-liners in this movie, I don't know. Hosiery is flattering. Really accentuates my meaty calves.
He says the most random stuff too at times.
Yep. And then a little bit later on, when the murder has happened
Hmm.
and they haven't started questioning people yet, but they're trying to mark off the crime scene and all that.
Right.
Mason's like, do you have any crime tape? Oh yeah, I carry some in my back pocket to parties all the time.
Yeah, but he's hilarious. I'm so glad
Yeah.
like he's in these films because he just like I said, he just brings the right amount of comedy to make the movie funny.
Yes. And then one last one, when Mason is talking to Charlie about being hired by Alistair, and he says, off Craigslist or Clowns Are Us. And Charlie's like, aha.
Ah,
Very funny.
I forgot about that line. That was a good one.
Yep. Of course, we got some good Tom and Goldie scenes in this movie.
Hmm. We got a little bit more momentum on their relationship this film too, which
Yes,
I
we did.
enjoyed.
We see them meeting at the feast. Do my
Hmm.
eyes deceive me, or is this the fair maiden Goldenberry? Sir, you do honor me. And
I was cracking up when she found the writing on his hand and they wrote
then,
everything down. Just
the dance. I loved the dance.
yeah, the
When
dancing was great.
she says, you enchant me with your nimble-footed prowess, and you have bewitched my heart. As he dips her, and then, he pulls her back up and he says, you're the secret ingredient that makes the ordinary extraordinary.
Like you said, there was a couple of times in this movie I thought they were gonna kiss and they didn't. I was like, not a couple. It was like two or three times I thought they were gonna kiss and it didn't happen.
Oh, yeah. Okay. How about that time that she gets stuck in the bookshelf?
Oh, that scene, and then there was the other scene where she comes out and um the knight, like the silver knight that was
Oh,
standing in the
yes.
hall, like falls on
Yes.
top, and he catches her. I'm like, I'm losing my patience here. Somebody kiss somebody.
Yes. Saving her from the falling knight statue. My
Yes,
knight in shining armor.
yeah, but back to the scene with the bookshelf. That was a. I'm like, really? Like you guys aren't gonna do anything? Like, no, you're gonna wait? Okay.
Hmm. Yeah. Another like from this movie was how they used Emma's artistic talent for the investigation with the
Yeah,
suspect drawings. That was
yeah, that was clever. Yeah, she was like
Yeah.
the cartoon, she was like the picture drawer.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mason crushing on Emma. That was great. I think you brought that up.
Yeah.
And complimenting her drawings. I loved Tom's reaction when they're questioning Emma. And he's like, now is not the time for this, Mason.
Just the way that he looked at him, he goes, "Not now, not now."
And then Goldie trying to matchmake for Dave and Marla, and Tom is like, don't even think it.
Don't even go there. Don't even go there. The scene at the end after like they came back, Marla and Detective Track were like talking in the interrogation room in the police station.
Fatal vows. And fatal
Yes.
vows.
No, fatal vows. Yes. So sorry. That I was cracking up at
Yeah.
the scene. He goes, "No, this isn't. I don't know how I feel about that one."
I don't know how I feel
But
about
they
that.
had that
Yeah.
one nice scene in this movie. Did he like smell her hair?
Yeah. And Marla's like, did you
What are you
just sniff my
doing?
hair?
Hair? I like their relationship. Like, I hope he comes back for
Yeah.
another movie because I thought they were like starting something pretty good. I actually like them
Yeah.
together. So
Yeah, me too. Yeah. They would make a great couple. I loved
yeah,
that scene in Fatal Vows when they're talking about the hamburger and the bun.
I knew the second they were both in that room in the interrogation room in the police station. I'm like, watch, these two are gonna hit it up. They're gonna actually start liking each other. And I was right.
Yep. Moving on to our hopes. Now, this is maybe any questions you had about the movie or anything
Mm-hmm.
that you didn't like about it. Was there anything you wanted to share for that?
Right. I know we brought this up earlier before we started recording.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly wanted to get a little bit more of a backstory on Tom's relationship with
Yeah,
his dad, Edmund.
me too.
I feel like the only thing we really found out about in this film was that his dad was in prison,
Mm-hmm.
which we actually honestly knew from Fatal Vows because
Yeah.
Tom tells Goldie that in Fatal Vows.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, I feel like I thought we were going to get maybe a little bit more of a backstory of their
Yeah.
relationship when he was younger, but we didn't. I felt
Mm-hmm.
like that's something I wanted to see more of in this film.
Yeah, what we did get, I think, was nice, but I would have loved just a little bit more. But
Right.
it didn't take away from anything in the movie at all.
No.
So
I agree.
a little bit more of Goldie and Marla. Again, there was a lot going on in this movie, so it's understandable, but always love
hmm
the Goldie and Marla scenes.
Right. They're like two peas in a pod.
Yes. I think the only other thing I would say is better lighting for the end scene with Tom and Goldie with their first kiss.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like,
Yeah.
why are they kissing? And it looks like they're kissing in a black hole. I cannot see anything.
It was a
I'm
little bit dark.
like
Yeah.
it was no, it was like the lighting was not that great. I'm like, you guys couldn't kiss on in the castle, like in the building, or in natural daylight.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy that they kissed because it was like when it was getting closer to the end, Nicole, I'm like, there's no time left. They're not going to kiss. They're going to push this out to the next film, but they did, and I was happy about it. So I'm like,
No.
thank you. Because we all know
Yes.
it was building eventually. Like something had to
Yes.
come to a head soon with the
Yeah.
two of them. So
Yeah. And I love how at the end when they kiss, she's like, what took you so long, Schultz?
yeah, I love that she tells them that.
So cute.
Yeah, it's
And
definitely cute.
as we'll talk about in the next movie, I think they're fast tracking this relationship. I don't think they're gonna wait too long
Like put put your foot on the gas pedal.
to put it lightly. Like,
No, but
okay.
right, but I'm happy their relationship progressed even more in the
Yeah,
next one
me
because
too.
that's what we all wanted to see.
Yes, and I'm so excited for the
Yeah.
next movie. Moving on to our ratings for
hmm
Foiled Plans. The cast out of 5 stars.
5. I thought
Five
everybody
out
was
of
great in
five.
this film. Yeah.
Yes. Setting.
No, I give it a 5 too, the setting, because it was
5 out of 5. Yeah.
right.
Yes. And well done to the set decorator.
Yes.
Fantastic job.
hmm
The story.
I'm gonna give it a 4. Story was like a
Okay,
4 for
yeah.
me, right? Which is like pretty high.
Yeah, I said 4.5 out of 5.
Mhm.
Just based on what we already talked about. But
Right.
yeah, solid mystery movie for Hallmark
Yes.
and overall.
5. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave it 4.5, but yeah, still
Yeah.
4.5 for me is very high.
Mhm.
And as of right now, I don't think it's going to change. Foiled Plans is my number 3 Hallmark mystery movie, non-Christmas of 2024.
Right.
So,
I think it's number 4. It was number 4 for me on my letterbox
yeah,
list.
very good. One of the best in the
Yeah.
series. Yeah,
Mhm.
so far. Well, this is so much fun. Thank you, Alex, for joining me. I can't wait to talk about Forbidden Fruit
Yes,
with
yes.
you.
This was a lot of fun, Nicole. Yes, I can't wait to talk about this next film, which was even greater than this one.
Yes, it was.
Um, yeah, it was definitely a great one too. But yeah, thanks for
Yes,
having me on.
of course. Always love having you on. All right, Hallmarkies, I think that wraps up our review of Curious Caterer, Foiled Plans. If you enjoyed this episode and are watching on YouTube, you can like this video and share your thoughts about the movie in the comments. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to rate and review, as your feedback is always greatly appreciated. If you want to stay up to date on all of my episodes, make sure to subscribe to this channel on YouTube or follow along on Spotify. And make sure to turn on the bell so you are alerted when those new episodes come. You can also find the podcast on Instagram and Facebook at Swing My Heart Podcast and Twitter at Swing My Heart Pod. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a great day or night wherever you are in the world, and we will see you next time. We love y'all. Bye.